to the middle of September here in Phoenix, Arizona. We're here in the tropical food forest part of the green yard where we have most of our fruiting and flowering tropical trees. We're actually in kind of this area back here where we have some of our more cold sensitive trees, right? Those ultra tropicals such as our soursop tree, which struggled through last winter and came back kind of from the roots. It's been putting on a whole bunch of new growth this fall, doing really well. We also have right next to me our santal tree, which is also one of those ultra tropicals, those trees that we have to cold protect and provide an alternative heat source in order for it to survive outside here in the Phoenix area. And then we also have the tree that we're talking about today and that we're actually doing a planting video on, and that is here next to me. This is a lemon drop mangosteen. I've heard of these doing okay here in the Phoenix area, especially with that cold protection. They do require that external heat source, additional heat source, and that kind of frost fabric to protect them from cold. They also need a pretty well-established microclimate, which we have here in the tropical food forest part of the green yard. We recently did a planting video with our canistel tree, which has been thriving in its new spot over by our koi fish pond. And so now we're moving into planting our lemon drop mangosteen. This tree, it looks a little beaten up, but I actually see some really good growth, especially on this side of the tree. That side seems to be kind of the side that was facing towards the sun, where we have a lot of sunburnt leaves. This side has a lot of new growth, new leaves coming out, which is really a promising thing as we put this guy in the ground. So let's go ahead. We're going to talk a little bit more about this space, why I picked this space for one of our ultra tropical trees that are going to need some of that cold protection. Maybe not as ultra tropical as like our soursop, but it is definitely up there. So let's talk about the location, why I picked this spot, as well as kind of what this kind of tree requires in terms of this microclimate. And then we'll go ahead and get this guy in the ground. Here we go. We have our Hall avocado tree here, kind of at this kind of more cold tolerant part of our tropical food forest. This Hall avocado has been doing really, really well, pushing out a whole bunch of new growth. Just did a recent update video, 2.5 years in ground with this Hall avocado tree. Right next to it we have our more cold sensitive Adamoya here. Just did an update video on our Adamoya as well, 1 year in the ground. It's been doing pretty well this year. You can see this fall it's putting out a whole bunch of new growth here. It did struggle a little bit in the summer with that intense sun, and we're going to talk about that microclimate it's in. You can see down here we have our additional heat sources for the winter, since this one does require some additional heat to protect it from that cold. Above me here is our huge, giant male mulberry tree, kind of this, I like to call it our mother tree, even though it's a male mulberry tree. This is what provides us really with the needed microclimate for most of these trees to survive here in the tropical food forest. You can see we have a red dragon fruit growing up in the tree itself, kind of hanging over there. We have our papaya, not our best papaya. We actually did a harvesting short. We've been doing really, really well with our papayas this year. This one not so much, but some of our other ones, although you can see this one does have a pretty decent sized papaya on here. Hopefully we'll get to harvest that soon. And then we have kind of this more secluded spot over here. You can see our santal tree is getting some sun, afternoon sun right now. Really doesn't like that. It actually wants to have shade after about 10 a.m. We have our soursop tree that died back to the roots, starting to put out some really, really nice growth here. So hopefully that continues to grow into this fall, become stronger. We also have our loquat tree there in the corner and our Michaelia alba on the ground there. Beautiful, really fragrant smelling flowers that it produces. The reason why we're putting our lemon drop mangosteen in this location is because of our male mulberry tree. So our male mulberry tree is going to provide the necessary afternoon shade that it needs in order for it to thrive through our summers here in the Phoenix area. Our summer sun can get intense. Not only is it hot, but our sun is pretty intense. We are at 1,000 feet here in Phoenix, and this mulberry tree provides that afternoon shade that our ultra tropicals need. It also provides kind of this protective microclimate in the winter where we don't see anywhere near as cold here in this part of the green yard, the tropical food forest part of the green yard. Lowest it's hit here is about 32 degrees, which was a little low for some of our ultra tropicals like our santal tree and our soursop. Other parts of the green yard do see 28 degrees. That happened last year. So we're putting this tree in this spot. It's kind of taking over for this avocado that I tried to plant in the middle of the summer. Check out our avocado video as well for our whole avocados. Didn't do very well. I've had these this banana plant here. Does not get enough sun for the banana plant, so I will be taking that out at some point in time. And so we're going to kind of put it right next to that banana plant where that avocado was, and should be a really good spot for it, and it should do very well. It will still need that cold protection in the winter, as well as some potential additional shade the first couple years. Generally, our trees do end up doing better after the first few years in the ground. It just takes a little bit of time for them to get acclimated and to get used to our climate here. So let's go ahead, let's throw this guy in the ground. Here we go. All right, so I've dug out my hole here, and for those of you wondering, yes, I messed up with our banana pup. I wasn't really trying to save it. It would have been nice to put it somewhere else in a different part of the yard, but definitely not my best pup that I have, so I wasn't super attached to it. But you can see I just kind of chopped it off here. That's not what you want to do. You want to get all the roots and everything with it. I just didn't go deep enough on my side, so we'll kind of compost that or throw it off to the side or just let it decompose here in the tropical food forest. I did dig this hole out. Now, I'm not going as deep as I usually would, so typically what I would do is I would dig this, so here's our pot. I would dig this twice, 2 to 3 times as wide and 2 to 3 times as deep. The reason I do that is here in, at least my experience with planting here in the Phoenix area, usually we have that really hard clay soil. Our trees are not used to that hard clay soil. If I reach in the pot here, you'll see it has that really black, organically rich soil. And so to kind of help the tree get a little bit more acclimated and used to its new home here in the ground, I like to mix together our this nursery soil, right, that really organically rich soil, and our normal clay soil. I usually mix that together in kind of a 50-50 mixture in the hole. For this spot, this area has been under heavy mulch for about 4 years now since we moved into the green yard. So a lot of this soil, if I grab some of it here, you'll see, I mean, you got a pretty good mixture here. It's pretty dark, pretty comparable to what we see here. Maybe not quite as dark, a little bit more brown, but it's already been mixed. So I'm not gonna go in and I'm not gonna mix it again. It's already been mixed, it's already there. So I just dug out a hole that would fit this pot. In fact, we might have to scoot some more of this in here just to make sure that we have a good position for our lemon drop mangosteen. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and take this guy out of the pot. It looks to be really rooted out. It seems like it's been in this pot for quite some time, so I wanna make sure that when I take it out, that we get the entire thing out of here. I also wanna see what direction I want this tree to be facing. kind of like it to be facing a little bit more this direction. So let's go ahead, let's pull that root ball out. Looks like a beautiful, beautiful root ball that we have here. Really pretty tree actually. And we're gonna kind of position it a little bit so it's standing up straight, which seems to be in a pretty good position right here. Maybe scoot it back just a little bit more. I want the top roots, this root flare around the top, to be slightly above our ground level. Our ground level is right about here. And that's the reason why, is because that's how our roots actually breathe, is through that root flare. So we want it to be a little bit above, because as we water, as things decompose, trees are actually gonna sink into the ground a little bit here. I already have my mixed soil from before, so I'm just gonna bring that back in and really put it all around here and fill in this hole. All right, so that tree's in the ground. I'm gonna go ahead and bring some of that mulch now in as well. Try to cover this guy with some mulch. So here we go. The reason why I heavily mulch things is to it helps retain the water better. I won't have to water this but once every week while it's still hot, and then once every 2 weeks in the fall, generally into once a month in the winter. Really helps to kind of retain that moisture in the ground. Also breaks down into organic matter, makes more of that darker soil like we saw. This all used to be clay soil, and now as the years go on, it keeps breaking down more and more in this space. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this nursery stake out. The reason why we want to take our nursery stake out is to help the tree's roots fully form, fully start expanding out into this area. Sometimes those nursery stakes can cause issues if they're left in. Obviously, if the tree is not sturdy enough, we can add additional stakes on either side and then kind of tie up the tree. So we're going to go ahead and take this nursery stake out. All right, so there we have it, our lemon drop mangosteen, this beautiful tree in the ground here in our tropical food forest. I'm really excited for this tree. I think it's gonna do really, really well here in the tropical food forest part of the green yard. A couple things I did off camera. I did spread some agricultural sulfur around the tree. The reason why is because most of our, like the rest of our fruiting and flowering tropical trees, our lemon drop mangosteen does want a little bit of a acidic soil. And here in the Phoenix area, we generally have an alkaline soil, about 8.5. And so adding that agricultural sulfur in can really help to lower that pH, which gives the tree the ability to access any of those nutrients, any of those fertilizers that we end up giving it. So I went ahead and sprinkled that around. I also watered this tree as well. You know, any newly planted tree, definitely want to give it some water. Since we're not getting our flood irrigation for a little bit, I did use a hose to water this tree. And you know, I'm really excited for this tree to be in the ground. It's one of those ultra tropicals. We don't really know how it's gonna do. Not a whole lot of people are growing it like our santal tree and our soursop tree, which have been doing well. Our jackfruit fruit tree is thriving as well. You know, we have some of those we have some of those trees that kind of suffer and can't last through our cold that are doing really, really well here in the food forest part of the green yard. So hopefully our lemon drop mangosteen becomes one of those trees as well, and we see it thrive and maybe even get some fruit someday. So if you guys have any additional questions about any of our fruiting and flowering tropical trees or plants here in the green yard, please feel free to comment below. If you have any questions about planting a lemon drop mangosteen, feel free to comment as well. And don't forget to like and subscribe for some more great green content. And as always, make sure to live green, plant lots, and of course have fun. We'll see you guys next time.